Ever wonder what it's really like to work at an amusement park? Not just visiting, but like being the one who makes the magic happen behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's a job a lot of people don't think about, but it's more than meets the eye.
Right. And you brought us some super interesting info on this from RoleCatcher, all about becoming an attraction operator.
It's not as simple as just pushing a button. There's a lot more to it.
Okay, so let's break this down. We've got career guides, interview tips, all that good stuff from RoleCatcher. So, first things first, for someone who's like daydreaming about getting paid to be near roller coasters all day, what does an attraction operator actually do?
Well, imagine this. You're the one who gets to hit that button. The one that launches the roller
Or
coaster.
sends people on that loop-de-loop?
Exactly. But you're also the one who's got to make sure everyone's buckled in safe and sound, that that ride like the back of your hand and that you can handle anything.
Like if someone spills a soda?
That or, well, something a little more high stakes. You got to be ready for it all.
Okay, so it's way more than just push a button, wave to the crowd. There's a lot of responsibility there.
You got it. Think about like a pilot or someone controlling air traffic. Those skills that need to think fast on your feet.
Attraction operators need that too.
Totally. They're not flying planes, true, but that same sharp focus, knowing how things work mechanically, reacting under pressure, it's crucial.
And then you've got to deal with the public on top of it all in that kind of like high energy setting. That can't be easy.
No kidding. You need a certain kind of personality to handle it all.
Yeah.
Excited kids, nervous riders, maybe even someone who's had a little too much sun.
Oof, yeah, I can see that going sideways fast.
And you got to stay cheerful through all of it. Welcoming, calm, the whole 9 yards. It's a real skill.
Definitely not a job for everyone. RoleCatcher mentioned needing first aid knowledge too. That's serious stuff.
For sure. You're often the first one there if something happens, someone gets overheated, or a ride has to stop suddenly.
So you could end up being someone's hero. Adds a whole other layer of respect to the job for sure. It's demanding, no doubt. But what about the perks? Aside from free rides, of course, what are the upsides?
Well, how many jobs can you say are never boring? You're surrounded by this energy, this excitement. It's infectious.
I can definitely see that. And what about the career path itself? Does RoleCatcher mention if this is a dead end, or is there room to grow?
That's where it gets really interesting. Starting as an operator can be a stepping stone. You're getting hands-on experience, not just with the rides, but with people, with how the whole park functions.
So it's like an education in itself.
You could say that. And that can take you in some pretty cool directions, career-wise.
Okay, like what? Spill the beans. What kind of career ladder are we talking here?
For one, you could climb the ranks to senior attraction operator, then on to ride supervisor, managing a team and all.
So definitely leadership potential. And after ride supervisor, what's next?
You could become an attractions manager, overseeing all the rides, the experiences in a certain area, maybe even the whole park.
Wow, so you could go from strapping people onto roller coasters to, like, calling the shots for the whole amusement park? That's a serious jump.
It's more common than you'd think. Experience is key in this industry, and if you're willing to put in the work, there's a clear path upwards.
Okay, I'm seeing why you said this job is often overlooked. It's like this hidden gem with serious potential.
Totally.
Speaking of potential, RoleCatcher also gave us some info on how to nail that job interview right.
They did. It's full of good advice, stuff that can really help you stand out.
Okay, so say I'm sold on this whole attraction operator thing. I'm picturing myself like working the Ferris wheel, wind in my hair. What do I need to know to absolutely ace that interview?
Number one, show them you're passionate about this world, that you get what this job is really about.
So brushing up on my roller coaster trivia isn't going to cut it.
It couldn't hurt. But really, they want to see you genuinely care about creating a fun, safe place for people. Why this job, why you'd be amazing at it, that's what matters.
Okay, passion for all things amusement park. Check. Anything else? What about those curveball questions? Like, what's your greatest weakness? Should I tell them I'm terrified of heights?
Maybe you save that one for later. They're looking for self-awareness, someone who's willing to learn and grow. Everyone has weaknesses. The key is to show how you're turning them into strengths.
Okay, be honest, but put a positive spin on it.
Got it.
What about my unhealthy obsession with cotton candy? Should I bring that up?
Hey, if it shows you understand the amusement park world, why not? But seriously, be ready to talk about safety procedures. They need to know you can handle anything calmly and efficiently.
Safety first, fun always.
Exactly. And that's where those RoleCatcher tools come in handy, those AI-powered interview practice things.
Oh, yeah, those sounded cool.
They help you practice your answers, your delivery, so when the big day comes, you're cool as a cucumber.
It's like having a secret weapon, especially for someone who wants to learn fast but thoroughly, which, knowing our listeners, probably spot on.
Totally. And speaking of journeys, we're about to take one ourselves. Back in time, that is. After a quick break, we're diving into the history of amusement parks. How do we go from simple fares to these modern marvels? Stay tuned.
All right, so amusement park history time. I gotta admit, I'm picturing those old-timey photos, like people in their fancy clothes on those rickety wooden coasters.
You're not far off.
Yeah.
It's easy to think amusement parks are a new thing, but they actually go way back.
Way back. Like, how far back are we talking?
To big medieval Europe, those fairs and festivals they had, those are like the amusement parks of the day.
Huh. Instead of roller coasters, they had, like, jousting and stuff.
Exactly. Games, food stalls, all kinds of attractions. It was a chance for people to let loose, have some fun.
And probably a break from, like, the plague and whatnot.
Right. They wanted to enjoy themselves, connect with other people, which, when you think about it, that's still what amusement parks are all about today.
Makes sense. So how do we get from those medieval gatherings to, like, the Six Flags and Disney Worlds of today?
Oh, it's a whole journey. Technology changing, how people live their lives, even new kinds of entertainment popping up.
Yeah.
It all played a part.
I'm thinking the invention of movies, radio. That must have shaken things up.
Definitely. Amusement parks had to adapt to stay fresh. Exciting. But if you want to talk game changers, got to mention the roller coaster.
Okay, when we talk about the first roller coasters, what are we picturing? Like, were they those rickety wooden things from old photos or...
Actually, roller coasters go back even further. Believe it or not, 16th century Russia is where it all started.
Russia. Now that's a curveball.
We're talking massive ice slides. Some of them were over 70 feet tall.
No way.
People would slide down on these blocks of ice. Talk about a thrill. Those are like the great-great-grandparents of roller coasters.
Wow, ice slides. I can only imagine how intense that must have been.
So how'd those turn into the steel monsters we have today? It was a gradual thing. Those ice slides in Russia, they caught on in other parts of Europe. Over time, ice turned to wood, and then boom, in France, 18th century, the first real roller coaster pops up.
Did they call it the French twist?
Close. They called them Russian mountains.
Huh. So the French took that Russian idea and, like, made it their own.
They did, and it took off from there.
Yeah.
Roller coasters started appearing in amusement parks all over Europe, and eventually made their way to America.
And I bet those early wooden ones were quite the experience. A little rough around the edges compared to now, I imagine.
For sure. But that's part of what made them so exciting. That speed, the drops, feeling like you're going to fly out of your seat. There was nothing else like it.
And people couldn't get enough, clearly. Those roller coasters became, like, the icon of amusement parks.
Totally. And as technology got better, so did the roller coasters. The early 1900s, they invent the chain lift system, so now the rides can be taller, faster.
Okay, things are getting serious now.
Right. And then, 1950s, steel tracks come into the picture. That changed everything.
Steel. That's what we're writing on now, right?
Yep. Way stronger, more flexible. So suddenly you can build those crazy loops, inversions, those insane drops we love.
Speaking of insane, what about all the other tech that's changed amusement parks? It's not just roller coasters. It seems like everything's bigger, faster, way more intense now.
You're telling me. And it's not just the rides themselves. The way they run the whole park, it's all tech-driven now. But one of the coolest things has got to be animatronics, robotics. That stuff's wild.
Like those super realistic figures they have in some rides?
Exactly. They've gotten so good. The way they move, their faces, it's mind-blowing. It all adds to that feeling of being transported to another world.
I know. It's like the line between real and fake just disappears. What else is out there tech-wise? What does the future hold for amusement parks?
Well, virtual reality, augmented reality.
Yeah.
That's the next big thing.
Okay, VR roller coasters. That sounds both amazing and terrifying.
Like something else. And with augmented reality, they can turn the whole park into this interactive experience, like blending the real world with games, scavenger hunts.
Wow, the possibilities are endless. But gotta ask, with all this talk about tech, what about the human side of things? Are robots going to be taking tickets and strapping us into rides soon?
That's the big question, right? And as much as things are changing, that human element, it'll always be crucial.
I mean, as cool as technology is, part of what makes amusement parks special is other people. Like that feeling of everyone being there to have fun, the energy of the crowd.
Totally. And that connection you get with strangers even, sharing a ride, laughing together. That's magic.
Exactly. And I don't think robots can replicate that, at least not yet. Which brings us back to our attraction operator. Their role, that focus on safety and customer service, it seems more important than ever.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of important, there's one more thing about amusement park history we got to talk about. That constant drive to go bigger, better, more thrilling.
Okay, now we're talking. Tell me everything. What crazy rides are they dreaming up next? So we've talked about the history, the tech, all that jazz. But what about the people behind the scenes, the attraction operators themselves? What's it actually like to have this job? What don't people realize?
You know, one thing that surprises a lot of folks is just how much stamina it takes. You're on your feet for hours, often in crazy weather. It's physically demanding, for sure.
Yeah, you don't really think about that when you're like stuffing your face with funnel cake and riding a roller coaster.
Right, someone's out there making sure everything runs smooth no matter what. And it's not just physical stamina either, it's mental. Constantly interacting with guests, handling situations, thinking about safety protocols, all while staying upbeat and positive.
That's a lot to juggle, but I imagine the rewards are pretty cool too. What keeps people coming back to this job?
Well, for a lot of attraction operators, it's that feeling of making people happy. Seeing those excited faces, hearing the laughter. They know they played a part in creating those memories.
There's something special about that, right? Knowing you brought a little joy into someone's day, especially in a place like an amusement park.
Absolutely. And it's more than just operating the ride. Sometimes it's going above and beyond. Calming a kid who's scared, helping someone find their lost hat,
Yeah.
even just snapping a photo for a family.
Those little things can make a big difference.
Exactly. It's about that human connection, that willingness to go the extra mile to make someone smile, that kind of empathy. It's what makes a truly great attraction operator.
Yeah, that ability to connect with people, make them feel seen, even in the craziness of an amusement park. That's a real skill.
For sure. And it sounds like something our listener, based on their interest in this career path, values quite a bit.
Totally. And hey, thanks to all this info from RoleCatcher, they'll be prepped and ready for that interview. Speaking of which, we covered a lot of ground today. It's amazing how much goes into this job that, from the outside, seems pretty straightforward.
It really is this unique mix of technical know-how and that human touch. And without it, amusement parks wouldn't be the same.
So true. So next time you're at an amusement park enjoying the rides, take a second to appreciate those attraction operators.
They're the ones who keep things running, keep those smiles coming, and help make those memories we all cherish.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And to our listener, if you decide to go for it, we're rooting for you. It's a rewarding path for anyone with the passion and the drive.
Absolutely.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive, everyone. Catch you next time for more adventures and knowledge.